Have you ever noticed how success just seems completely instant from the outside? Like you're scrolling through your feed and boom, you see a colleague get this massive promotion. Or maybe someone launches a project and it just explodes out of nowhere. And well, what's our immediate knee-jerk reaction to that? We tend to think, wow, they just got so lucky, right? We see the finish line, we see the victory lap, the applause, but we are entirely blind to the grueling marathon that happened right before it.
So, that's exactly what we're going to deconstruct today. We're diving into a concept I like to call the overnight myth, deconstructing the invisible years. I am absolutely thrilled to get into this with you, because these ideas, they honestly have the power to completely reframe how you look at your own struggles, your own timeline, and your own untapped potential. We're going to shine a huge spotlight on those hidden years, the quiet, unglamorous work, and the reality of what it actually takes to build a life you're genuinely proud of.
All right, let's jump right in. Section 1, the overnight myth. What we see versus what actually happens.
You know, many people look at someone living this extraordinary life, and they just instantly slap the label of luck onto it. It's almost a defense mechanism, isn't it? Because if it's just luck, well, then we don't have to feel bad about not having it ourselves. We get hypnotized by this glittering illusion of instant success, but we miss the entire messy reality over on the other side. The repeated failures, the agonizing uncertainty, the relentless discipline. And when we only focus on the illusion, we're basically robbing ourselves of the actual roadmap to get there.
Which brings us to our second point, the invisible transformation, the unseen work behind the obvious.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how this completely redefines the whole nature of growth. Growth isn't some loud, explosive event. It is a quiet, daily accumulation of tiny choices happening completely out of the public eye. Look at the actual ingredients here. It's the failures that make you literally want to quit. It's the uncertainty keeping you awake at 2 a.m., wondering if you're making a massive mistake. The painful lessons, the quiet discipline to wake up and just do it again. But most crucially, it's the days when absolutely nobody was paying attention. Most of your journey is going to be walked entirely in the shadows, without a single round of applause. And honestly, that is exactly where the real you is being forged.
Real transformation is usually invisible before it becomes obvious. Think about it like a seed. It's growing down in the dark dirt long before it ever breaks the surface. So, if you're putting in the work right now and feeling like absolutely nothing is changing, like nobody sees you, really let this truth sink in. The invisibility of your progress does not mean it isn't happening. It just means you're still building the foundation. But during that invisible phase, one of the absolute biggest mistakes you can make is turning every single difficulty into an excuse to stop. You've got to manage your energy fiercely. If there is something you can change, put your head down and work on it. But if you cannot change it, you just have to accept it and move forward. Spending your finite, precious energy suffering over things entirely out of your control won't change the outcome. It just drains the energy you desperately need for the things you actually can control.
Okay, Section 3. The reality of falling. Questioning everything is part of the process.
Because let me be perfectly clear with you. Navigating those invisible years, it is not going to be a smooth ride. We really need to normalize the struggle here. Setbacks aren't a sign that you're on the wrong path. They're a fundamental feature of the path itself. You are going to fail. You are going to fall. You are going to have moments, maybe even weeks, where you sit down and you profoundly question everything. You wonder if the sacrifices are worth it, if you're actually cut out for this, if you should just go back to what's comfortable. This isn't a sign of weakness, guys. This is just the universal human experience of pushing your boundaries.
But here is the exact moment where everything changes. Falling is not the problem. Staying down is. This is the ultimate separator between the people who eventually look like an overnight success and those who just fade away. Look, everybody hits the ground. Gravity applies to all of us. The only variable that actually matters is your willingness to stand back up, dust yourself off, and take just one more step forward.
You don't need to win every day. You just need to keep moving. Man, what a massive relief that is, right? You don't have to be perfectly optimized, incredibly productive, and wildly successful every single time the sun comes up. Some days, a win just means you didn't quit. Forward momentum, no matter how remarkably slow it feels, is still forward momentum. Moving right along to Section 4, cultivating true capability. Becoming capable along the way.
The truth is, so many people stall out in those invisible years because they think they need to be an absolute expert before they even take the first step. They're waiting for this magical moment of readiness that, quite frankly, just does not exist. If you want to know how to actually build yourself up from scratch, here is your definitive blueprint. 1. Ask questions relentlessly. 2. Learn from people who are further along the path. 3. Pay fierce attention to the world around you. 4. Study what works. And 5. Fiercely improve what doesn't. This right here, this is the cycle of mastery. It's not about possessing some natural-born genius. It's about possessing an unbreakable willingness to learn.
And this leads us to one of the most empowering truths you will ever hear. You do not have to know everything before you begin. In fact, it's literally impossible to. You become capable by learning along the way. Capability is just the byproduct of action. It's the sweat you earn from doing the messy, imperfect work. You are basically building the airplane while you're flying it, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be.
Section 5. Grounding in the present. Appreciation while building the future. Now, as we're out here building these incredible futures, learning, falling, getting back up, it is incredibly easy to develop tunnel vision. We can become so obsessed with tomorrow that we completely forget about today. But an invisible journey is a pretty hollow one if you arrive at the finish line entirely alone. So while you're relentlessly building your future, please do not forget the people who are part of your present right now. Tell people you love them. Look them in the eye and tell them they matter. Express your profound gratitude while you still have the chance. Your ambition to build a great life should never blind you to the great people who are already standing right beside you. Because the absolute, undeniable truth of our existence is simply this: tomorrow is never guaranteed. We get so busy planning for 5 years from now, we completely forget that today is literally the only thing we actually own. So pause, take a breath, and really anchor yourself in the present moment, even as you strive for a better future.
And let's be deeply honest about where some of you might be right now. Maybe you are struggling heavily. Maybe you are starting from almost absolutely nothing, like ground zero. Maybe you feel like nobody out there, not your friends, not your family, actually believes in the vision you have for your life. Your current circumstances are heavy, and they are very, very real.
But you know what? That's okay. Truly, it is okay. Your circumstances today are absolutely not your final destination. You don't need the applause of a crowd to start building. You don't need perfect weather conditions. And you certainly do not need everyone around you to understand or believe in what you're doing.
What you do need is this. Keep believing that your next decision can be better than your last one. That is the only power you really need to harness here. Not the power to change the whole world overnight, but the power to make your very next choice a positive one. If your last decision was a mistake, fine, pivot. Let your next decision be the correction. Day by day, choice by choice, that is exactly how the invisible architecture of your future is built.
And if you keep doing that, if you stay in the shadows, do the quiet work, take the falls, and get back up, a really funny thing is going to happen. One day, years from now, people are going to look at your life, at your success, at your transformation, and they are going to say these exact words to you. Wow, you changed overnight.
And they'll say that because they won't see the invisible years you spent becoming the person capable of living that life. They won't see how you learned, how you adapted, how you took those painful falls, and how you relentlessly got back up. Because the life that looks like it happened overnight, it's almost always the life that took years and years of invisible work to build. So whatever you do, just keep going. Which brings us to a final, lingering thought for today. And I want you to let this question really echo in your mind long after we wrap up here. What are you building in the invisible years? When nobody is clapping, when nobody is watching, what kind of foundation are you laying down today? Embrace the shadows, guys. Do the work. And let your eventual success be the loudest noise you ever make. Catch you next time and keep moving forward.